The AZ Wildcats podcast, joined by Jason Scheer. I'm merely Mike Luke. Hello, Jason Scheer, looking trim and look like you just got a trim there. Looking good.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate your compliments.
Did you do that yourself, or did Shelby do this?
I did it.
You did it yourself?
Yeah, I'm good.
You have a little bit of an Al Capone look to you.
Thank you.
All right, well, hopefully you're not evading your taxes like he did. So, all right, we got a lot to get to today. We're going to talk about transfer portal possibilities here, the latest on Keshad Johnson, Arthur Kaluma, where will that $1 million come from, Demarco Dunn, a lot of different things, and more NBA entry personnel. But first, we got to talk about Keshad Johnson here. Obviously, the trip went very well to Arizona, but you know what? When the last trip is Kentucky, that's never a good feeling there, Jason Scheer. And right now, I don't have a good feeling about this.
Yeah, I mean, you never want a kid to be deciding between your school and Kentucky. No matter what school you are, Kentucky's always going to have some type of advantage, whether it's NIL or whatever it may be. I don't think Arizona's out of it. The kid, last I heard, which was a half hour ago, had not decided or informed any schools of a decision or anything like that. But, Kentucky always has a shot once they get a kid on campus.
Yeah, that's why it's important if you get the kid and, you're feeling good about it. That's where Miller was always very good at not getting that kid to take more visits. We don't want more visits after it's been a positive visit.
Yeah, I would have liked to see Arizona be a little more aggressive and basically saying, look, if you like Arizona enough and you're ready to commit, let's get this done and cancel the Kentucky visit. And I think Arizona, we'll see. Maybe they still land him. I'm not saying Johnson's out, but if he commits to Kentucky, I think Arizona's going to regret a little bit not being more aggressive and trying to get him to cancel that visit.
All right, we're going to talk a lot more about this, and we're going to talk to Deandre Ayton coming up next. But first, BetMGM. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM, here's the deal. Use bonus code PHNX. There's a few different offers depending on where you live, but for the Arizona audience, you will get up to $100 in bonus bets on your first wager with BetMGM. Again, make sure you use bonus code PHNX. Now, there are no more Suns away game watch parties to my knowledge because the Suns absolutely played terrible last night. It was an embarrassing performance. We blame Jacob Franklin for much of that. Now, also what you can do at BetMGM is you can there's new signature bets. New customers can click into an NBA playoff matchup of choice, not with the Suns obviously now. Signature bets tab. Each game market has their own unique set. Time of first point. When will player X make 2 consecutive 3-pointers? It's very unique and it's very, let's just say, trendy. That's why a lot of people are into this. BetMGM. All right, now, let us hear the disclaimer from Shane Diefenbach.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
All right, thank you there, Shane. All right, we're going to talk to Deandre Ayton, and then we're going to get back to this. It's time for the Suns to move on from Deandre Ayton. I think that that's fair to say. I don't really care what happened, all of that. Deandre Ayton looks disinterested. He looks checked out. And that's always been something that's kind of followed him is he really that interested? Does he really care that much? And I think you saw that I think a parting of ways needs to happen, Jason Scheer.
Yeah, it's probably one of those situations where it's best for both parties. You know, you get the vibe that Deandre Ayton didn't want the Suns to match and to keep him. He wanted a change of scenery, and it impacted him throughout the season. And Deandre is one of those players where you don't really know what you're going to get. When you get top-notch Deandre Ayton, he's really, really good. The problem is you don't get that every night or even every other night, and you get some bad versions of him as well. And I don't know what they're going to be able to get for him, but I do think it's time for both parties to move on.
Yeah, and there's a lot of when it comes to it, there's a lot of I think the Suns have. I think Monty Williams obviously has an issue with Deandre Ayton. I don't think that there's probably any doubt about that. But it also seems kind of petty. Gambo had something out there the other day about when Deandre Ayton signed his extension, Monty Williams didn't even reach out to him, anything like that. So Monty Williams clearly is not a big Deandre Ayton fan. But I can say at the same time, too, it is infuriating watching Ayton at times where it just looks like he doesn't care. Again, there's times when he looks like David Robinson, but there's a lot of times where it's like, oh, somebody else can get that rebound right there. And that, I think, is what just infuriates fans when somebody's getting paid, $30 million a year.
Isn't it crazy that, like Sean Miller got an aggressive Deandre Ayton? Like, if you go back and watch Ayton at Arizona – and you watch how he played, he was aggressive. Like, I mean, he went out there and dominated games. And for some reason with the Suns, it's more of a coasting, and I don't think him and Monty are a good match, but I think it goes far beyond that. I think Deandre has to realize the effort level and the intensity, the focus it takes to win at this level. It's not college anymore. You're playing against guys that are, Jokic and other dudes, and it's just a different level.
One of my favorite things that you were wrong on is when you said Sean Miller could be the next Phoenix Suns head coach a while back. You were definitely wrong on that. It was very funny.
Would you take Sean and Monty?
Now, I'm going to ask you this. Did you say that maybe because it was a precursor knowing that they would draft Deandre Ayton and Sean Miller, image rehabilitated, has a new offense now, heads off to the NBA to coach Deandre Ayton? Is that what Jason Scheer was going for?
No, I was going for he was going to get fired and he may have wanted out. So, so that was the maybe to the NBA.
All right, well, fair enough. But we do agree it's time to move. It is time to move on from him. Now, maybe let's see here. TLN, Tommy's Left, has said do you think Ayton will be a lot like Laurie? He'll leave a crappy team situation, average 25 for a team that actually cares?
I don't think he'll average 25, but it wouldn't shock me at all if he goes to a team, gets reinvigorated, and becomes an awesome basketball player. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
All right, one thing I've got to ask people, why do people keep saying, and we're going to get back to U of A here in a second, why do people keep saying that Kevin Durant is an alpha? There's nothing alpha about Kevin Durant and his history. Well, so I wasn't surprised by last night. It's
because he's really good, and I think most people assume that really good players are alphas, but he's not. I mean, there's other examples you could point to, like Anthony Davis is really good. He's not an alpha, right?
Hopefully, he's going to be okay for tonight.
Yeah, I'm sure he is magically. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you could be a good basketball player, not be an alpha. Like, there's guys where you look at them, and it's like Jimmy Butler is clearly an alpha. Like, he's the dude that's going to go.
I was right about Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to lose tonight, but, I can't believe the Knicks are going to win this series.
I got a player for you. The great Kobe Thiel right here. Umar Ballo, alpha.
Alpha Ballo,
Dude, Umar Ballo is the epitome of an alpha right there. I totally agree with you. Kobe Thiel, that's why you're smarter than we are. Also, let me ask you this. Oh, this is also great. Philly B, alpha?
Back in the homeland, baby.
I mean, seriously, Philly B has his own Mexican food restaurant named after him. That is the epitome of being an alpha. Now, do you think Philly B has ever been to Circle K?
Oh, yeah, 100. Probably the first place he came to.
All right, probably because he's a smart man right there. And if Philly B's doing it, we can all do it. Now, make sure you're not missing out on all this great stuff. Right now, text PHNX to 31310 to join their SMS subscriber club and get a buy one, get one free offer for a 32-ounce Polar Pop. Head to CircleK.com/store locator to find Circle K's near you. You might even find Jason Shear, or you might find a Jacob Franklin there. I'm not lying, am I?
No, you never know.
You never know. All right. Now let's get back to Arizona because, again, Deandre Ayton just really annoys me. By the way, Andre Veras says, can you imagine how Jimmy Butler would have handled Deandre Ayton or Anthony Davis?
It'd be good for him, though. Like, they need a guy. Like Chris Paul's kind of does it, but if Chris Paul doesn't play, he can't be that guy. DeAndre needs that dude to get on him.
Right, for sure. No, exactly. Now, Rich Carrillo says, I think Mike Luke's mom knows more than both of you yokels. I like that. Mike Luke is legit. If you don't believe me, ask Woody. I would agree. Mom going after Chief was very funny the other day, and he deserved every last bit of it. All right. Now, let's get back to some U of A talk right here. Arthur Kaluma has put out that he will transfer if he does withdraw from the draft. I have mixed opinions on Kaluma right here. I would have preferred Keshad Johnson. I think he's a better fit, but there's no doubt about it either. The Kaluma is good. He brings you a little bit of versatility. 12-8, probably 12-7, something like that. You certainly wouldn't turn him down. But my question is this: where would you get the $1 million?
PHNX donates $1 million. Yeah, I mean, I'm mixed on him too. You know, I don't think he's the greatest. I would rather have Keshad Johnson, better in leadership, better defender. Kaluma's
leader of men.
I get the appeal of Kaluma. Like, I don't think it's crazy if someone prefers Kaluma to Johnson, but Kaluma's going to go through the process. So if Johnson chooses Kentucky, we're probably not going to know about Kaluma's decision for weeks, because he's at the combine and all of that. So, and there's still the possibility that he doesn't even go back to college, that maybe he tests really well and stays in the draft.
Okay, Andrew Blaho or Blaho, either way, that's an awesome last name. Is there any world where we get a lineup of Boswell, Bradley, Kaluma, Tabellis, and Ballo? No, because Tabellis is not coming back. Tabellis is gone.
Correct.
All right, so I just wanted to see if you would object to that one right there. But he's gone. Okay, now a guy that is interesting to me merely because. And again, just merely looking at names because, again, we've told everybody out there that we need your help to look at the transfer portal right now or at the NBA draft declarations just to see who's out there. See, a guy that is interesting to me to a certain degree, and again, I have no clue if Arizona's even looking at him, is De'Ron Holmes. Because, again, he's in the draft. Arizona's recruiting his brother. He's a guy that I think that a lot of people would like to have, and he might be available.
Well, he's not in the portal, so I think he would have to go as a graduate.
Right.
But I don't know. Could he be a graduate transfer?
I believe he can be a graduate transfer as long as he graduated, right?
Right. So, I mean, look, there's guys that, graduate transfers don't have to enter the portal.
They can just go.
They could just go. And, he's a sophomore listed, but I don't know his situation. Obviously, if he entered the portal, he'd be a guy. There's other guys, too. Like, I know we're looking.
I'm just throwing him out as an example of just guys that you looked at with past.
Yeah, I mean, there's guys that are going to come back to the draft process and graduate, and I mean, even though the portal's closed, graduates can enter whenever they want, and so you're going to guys graduate in the next few weeks and be like, okay, now I'm transferring or stuff like that. If Arizona in a dream, we're doing this for Yoda Tho because he loves De'Ron Holmes. He's asked me a few times if there's any way Arizona can land him. That's the dream. I don't think so, but that's
again, it's always fun to speculate though on players like this though. And they've done a very good job on the message boards of giving us some players that we should look at right now. And I did this yesterday, and there are some interesting guys right there that Arizona Net came up with that I think are fascinating. Again, these are just guesses. These are just names that we're looking at right here. Rob Perry. I am intrigued by Rob Perry right here. Sure, do you know who Rob Perry is?
I haven't looked into him too much. Is that the kid from Murray State?
That's the kid from Murray State. This guy checks off a lot of the boxes that we're looking for right here. 6'4", 210 guard who can also put the ball in the basket right there. I like this kid. I would be very intrigued by what Arizona could do with him right here. Again, it's not like he's great. He averaged almost 15 a game, 5 boards, 2 assists, 43% from the field. But that's what you're going to basically be getting with guys like this.
And I'm always curious. A guy like Rob Perry, for instance, he averaged he started, and I think he played the whole game for Murray State. So what role does he want? Does he want a place like Murray State with maybe a little better team where he's still playing 35 minutes a game? Or is he willing to play 25 to 30 minutes a game and, on a better team? And so those are the questions you always got to ask with these guys. Similar to Keshad Johnson, he would play more on Arizona and he would have more of a role. But on Kentucky, he would obviously get highlighted nationally and make more money and all that. People think it's just I'm going to go here. That's the best. There's multiple facets to deciding in the portal. He's a good player, but we don't necessarily know what he wants.
All right, now I'm going to make the case for a player that Scheer does not want, but we should all want right here because I am right on this. But 2 things. First of all, Fubo TV. Now, you might say to yourself, Mike, Fubo TV, isn't that a clothing line? No, that is Fubo TV. This is what you do. Sign up through the link in the description. For people still looking to cable cut and be able to watch their favorite Arizona sports shows, this is what it is for you right here. You can watch most Arizona sports at the lowest price, 1,800 hours of cloud TV included in the extra charge. Watch the Wildcats on Valley Sports with Fubo TV. Use the link in the description to sign up for 15% off your first month of Fubo Pro. And before we get to the player that I'm going to make the case for that Jason Scheer does not want, it is time for the pick of the week. I am picking the Miami Heat tonight to annihilate the New York Knicks. What say you?
Are you asking me who's going to win that game? Because we both know the Knicks. I looked at the spreads, and it's 5.5 and 2.5 for the home teams. One of those has to lose.
I would agree with that. But so do you like the Knicks? You think the Knicks are going to win?
I think the Knicks are going to win.
All right there. We'll see. Scheer's wrong right there.
Do you think so? Are you taking the Lakers too?
Oh, I am taking the Lakers. Yes, I think the Lakers are going to smack them. As long as AD, we just got to hope that AD is okay, though.
If I was Steve Kerr, I would take one of my worst players on the bench, whoever it may be, and I would say go run into Anthony Davis.
Just do it.
30 seconds of the game. Just do it. See what happens.
Rich Carrillo, we are going to get to football and Jedd Fisch. We've got to talk a little bit more. By the way, Connor Johnson is here, our favorite Oregon State fan. We will make fun of Oregon State here shortly. Don't worry about it. But Demarco Dunn, you and I have different opinions on this. Top 70 kid out of Tucson, goes to North Carolina, doesn't play a ton, enters the transfer portal. I would bring in Demarco Dunn because I think that he is a rotation guy, probably 12, 15 minutes a game. He's pretty athletic. He's tough. I think he adds a little bit there that Arizona doesn't have. I would bring in Demarco Dunn.
Well, we had a middle ground with this conversation because at first I said I wouldn't bring him in. But then you're like, well, as an 8th or 9th guy. As an 8th or 9th guy, I would bring him in. As my first guard off the bench, I'm a little skeptical. Because the reason is you haven't seen the production from Demarco Dunn. You're bringing him, it's like when you draft on potential. You're bringing him in on potential. He could be the 2.5-point scorer he was at North Carolina, or you could give him a bigger role with the fit, and all of a sudden he's averaging 10 points a game, right? But if you're bringing him in and you're not super relying on him and say, man, we need 20 minutes out of you right away, I have no problem bringing him in. I just don't want him to be my main guard off the bench.
All right, so with Demarco, so you would bring, now, let me ask you this. Who has a better college career? 3 more years of Philly B or 2 more years of Demarco Dunn? Go.
I would take Demarco Dunn.
All right. Just wanted to make sure. So you're only back in Philly B to a certain extent.
Why are we choosing one over the other, Mike?
Because you don't. Basically, it's the best way to put it in there. Oh, TLN says he wants Philly B. All right. Connor Johnson, we got to deal with Connor Johnson here real quick because again, no, Boo, I want you to address the Adam Rittenberg comments, of course. You know, the reputable ESPN source that mainly covers the Big Ten, so he has no source. All right, Adam Rittenberg, I am going to take Brett McMurphy. I'm going to take Auerland, Marchand, people like that over Adam Rittenberg, partially because guys like Brett McMurphy have broken these stories in the past. And my whole thing is this, Connor. Why in the world hasn't a deal been signed when you've got all the Canzanos of the world been saying for a year, deal's right around the corner? If it's that strong, why hasn't a deal been made? Sheer, what say you?
I like Adam Rittenberg. I think he's a nice guy. It's hard for me to take someone with reporting when they literally say how sick they are of reporting something. And Adam hasn't been reporting stuff respectfully. That's not his expertise. Pete Thamel at ESPN would be the guy for realignment. There's people I pay attention to, but it's kind of like, if I don't pay attention to you, I don't really care what you're saying, as bad as that sounds.
Why is Oregon State and Washington State are easily the two most unattractive schools in the conference to the rest of basically the rest of the college sports world? So that's why they're very nervous about possibly something happening, right? Because Oregon State doesn't want to be pushed into the West Coast Conference, which would probably happen.
And at this point, I don't really care what Oregon State and Washington State say. Give me Oregon president, AD, give me the Washington president. Give me Robin saying we're staying in the Pac-12 until the Colorado or Arizona or Washington, Oregon straight up say we're staying in the Pac-12. That's it. I don't care about any of these quotes. They mean nothing to me. Yeah,
there you go, Connor. There you go. You get your moment in the sun. So we agree on Demarco Dunn. We need to talk really quick right here. Oh, Rich Carrillo, Mike, who's a better football player, Roger Craig or Mike Rozier? If you don't ask. Mike Rozier was definitely a better college player. Roger Craig was the superior pro. So that's where we'll go with that one right there. Now, let's talk a little bit about where Arizona stacks up in the conference. But first, we got to talk about Deron Holmes' little brother, Cameron Holmes. Arizona is going to have a very good chance with Cameron Holmes. Not saying they'll get him, but I like how the Tommy gun is getting in early on guys right now, Jason Shearer, and so do you.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing with Tommy Lloyd also. I think we're learning that, there's some learning curves to being a first-year coach or a first-time head coach. And Arizona at first didn't really offer guys early. Well, now they are. Tommy's learned something along the way. I think the portal situation, let's say Johnson commits to Kentucky over Arizona. If he does, I think that's a learning lesson for Tommy to be a little more aggressive in trying to close out recruitments. And
is Tommy Lloyd too nice?
Yes, by far. But it's a great thing for us. But and the one thing I will say about Tommy is, and it's different than a lot of head coaches, he's not stubborn. He is absolutely willing to adjust and learn with all this stuff. So the Tommy Lloyd recruiter now is better than the Tommy Lloyd recruiter when he first started. The Tommy Lloyd recruiter a year from now, I think we'll have learned a lot from this whole process. All
right, Betty Cohen, a.k.a. AZ Girl, says, Coach Tommy Lloyd needs a dynamic recruiter. I am going to agree with her on this one right here. We love Jack Murphy right here. Murph's the man. But again, I still don't quite know what some of the other coaches do. I would like to see, and again, not calling for anybody's job, but I would like to see Arizona maybe get a little bit more dynamic on the staff.
I think it's just really hard to have Tommy and Murphy being the two lead guys on every single recruit. And Murphy works his butt off. But even with Murph, you're asking a lot when you hear every single recruit revolve around Murph and Tommy. Yeah. And, it'd be nice if, Steve Robinson, we hear about it with Zoom. But what about some other guys? Ricardo Foy's just not a recruiter. Maybe he helps with internationals. I don't know. But he's not a recruiter. We haven't heard one coach say or one player say Ricardo Foy's name. And it's nice that Tommy Lloyd is so involved, but I think in a way, if you added a dynamic recruiter to add to Murph and Tommy, all of a sudden you're in a much better place than you are now.
Well, because that's the thing. I get it. I know I'm sure Ricardo Foy does a great job. I'm sure Steve Robinson does a great job. But like you said, and that's my question, is we've had a lot of recruits on. We've interviewed a lot of recruits. And every time we talk to a recruit, they never bring those names up. It's always Jack Murphy. Jack Murphy must work 95 hours a week. That's why we like Jack Murphy so much.
Yeah, and it's not. And look, I mean, you always want him to mention the head coach, but going back to the Sean Miller staff, for instance, you had guys mentioning Book, you had guys mentioning Whitford and Danny Peters and When Pasternak was on the staff, they'd always mention him. It's just a situation where, you want to be able to have one more guy. If you and not every staff is filled with the whole staff of recruiters. Very rarely do you see that. And if Ricardo Foy is your strategy guy, your game planning, I get it. That's fine. Then bring in another guy to work with that. Or if it's, what I mean, it's kind of add to that.
I'm going to throw a name out here that we've talked about and you have poo-pooed that won't happen, but I still like the name. Josh Pastner.
I love Josh, but A, he's not the recruiter that he once was. And B,
he was at Georgia Tech.
Yeah, but still, it's not. That's not. I like Josh, but
all right, yeah. That's it. With all due respect to Josh Pastner, right there. Okay, timeline on when the overseas guy will commit, when they're going to be. I would imagine that happens in the next month.
Yeah,
if there are an international guy.
If it happens, hopefully it does.
Work on your wink. Try your wink again. That was good. That was good. I like that.
Thank you. They're still playing. A lot of these international guys are still playing and are going to be playing for the next few weeks. So I would say June. I'm serious. I hate to break this to Arizona fans, but Arizona's roster may not be done until June.
We're going to pull up the roster here in a second and talk about how it compares to the rest of the conference. By the way, Rich Carrillo, do not worry. We will be getting to Arizona football here. Rich Carrillo says, the great Rich Carrillo, I hear Book Richardson is looking for a job. Tommy Lloyd should give him a call. Book's recruiting scheme is now legal and legit. What says Jason Scheer?
Isn't that wild? The thing he went to jail for is the thing that's happening with every school in the entire country and every sport.
Right. It's baffling. It's absolutely baffling right there. As far as TLN we threw out right there, I would imagine that Arizona will get involved with Kaluma if he were to come back. Or if he were to withdraw from the draft, and some other names right there. But again, they keep things very close to the vest right here. All right, Jacob Franklin, if you could pull up I got you, 115, Scheer, I got you. All right, Jacob Franklin, before we do that, let's do Tap and Bottle. Tap and Bottle. Now, Scott and Rebecca do a great job down there. As you all know, you can get Four Peaks Brew, or you know what? You can just go down there and hang out at your favorite neighborhood bar. We love these people. I will be going there tomorrow. Or not tomorrow, today, after I go to another place. So I will be there. I'll be there signing autographs as Jason Scheer. But Tap and Bottle, downtown or on the north side, great stuff. And again, support local, support them, and OGs. Now, OGs was mentioned by Ralmom, one of our favorite people right there, as something that looked like Jason Scheer was consuming at some point. Jason Scheer, were you consuming OGs?
Not at that time, never before the podcast.
All right, well, that's good. But there's so much more than gummies. They are about the culture and everything we do. They truly are about making experiences and weaving into the fabric of both PHNX and the sports we talk about. Find them at your local dispensary at ogsbrands.com. Must be 21 years or up to enjoy responsibly. All right, Scheer's coming in here with the optimism. I'm going to come with the pessimism. Jacob Franklin, if you could pull up that Arizona roster again right now. All right, Jason Scheer believes that USC, which will be the prohibited favorite next year, with a starting lineup of Isaiah Collier, the number one recruit in the entire nation at the point, Boogie Ellis, 18 per game at the 2, Bronny James at the 3, and then Vince the Prince, DJ Rodman, Josh Morgan, Kobe Johnson. You like this lineup right here more, Jason Scheer. Why is that?
That's not what I said. That's what I said.
It's kind of what you said.
I said Arizona has the potential, if everything goes right, to now add Keshad Johnson in there. Add the 2 international guys. Add a above average guard off the bench, and I think the rosters are comparable. Right now, USC's roster is better. But just be patient. Why can't we all just be patient?
All right, but again, so you don't like now I'm gonna turn it around on you. You always turn it around on me with these situations, which is garbage. So I'm gonna do this with you. If Tommy Lloyd had that USC roster, we're talking about one of the top 5 teams in the country, correct?
Yes.
We're just talking roster, dude. I'm going to give you the ice cube.
But there's still questions I would have. I don't know how USC is going to score. I don't.
Right.
Boogie is a scorer. Absolutely. But beyond that, who's that guy?
Who's that guy for Arizona?
I don't know.
All right. Now, a great question was asked right here. By the way, Dirty Dancer, there's a lot of Andy Enfield hate that goes on around here. And much of it is because of Jason Scheer, who is convinced much of the Southwest that Andy Enfield is not a good coach, even though he is a good coach. 99 and 34 the last 4 years.
This is the biggest season of your Andy Enfield career.
No.
If he doesn't win the conference this season, you got nothing. You got nothing.
The Elite, they made the Elite Eight just a couple years ago.
You've got nothing.
All right. But all right, one other team that we like to make fun of, and then we're going to get to football here. UCLA right now. UCLA looks terrible. They got rid of the spitter. They've got Dylan Andrews coming in. Who else?
I got you on UCLA. I'm going to drop some heat for you right now. You ready?
What do you got?
UCLA fans got mad at me. Well, I don't care. Jalen Clark's probably coming back, but he won't be ready for most of the season because of the Achilles. We kind of knew he was coming back. You can't go to the NBA with a torn Achilles. Bona is probably coming back. Again, Bona. So they got Clark and then they're getting a couple international guys. I think one is from Turkey and one is from Slovenia. Not against Arizona. They're not recruiting there. So we'll see.
All right, fair enough. Why are we getting so many Texas Longhorn fans in here? By the way, Rich Carrillo, I think, makes an interesting point right here about this. I believe that international players can play, but I also believe that we're also at the point, too, where if you're counting on an immediate contribution from the international players, and again, Lloyd's the best in the business at this, and he's batting 0 for 3 on immediate contributions.
Hey, can you ask Rich, what was USC's record against Arizona last year? I don't remember.
Rick? No, Rich is agree. Yeah, fair enough. I see what you did there. International.
USC, yeah. They can't beat Tommy. And come on. It's you got to recruit the right ones, and they have to be good, just like Americans. Is it a little harder to see how they'll adjust and all that? Absolutely. A lot of these guys have never even been to the United States. You don't know how they're going to adjust, but a good international guy is just as good as a good American guy. It's just,
I think Kylan Boswell leads the team in scoring next year. I'm going out on a limb right now. Don't care who they bring in. I think he leads the team in scoring. What say you?
Yes.
All right.
I think Umar will be close.
Okay. All right. I agree with that. I don't, as the kids would say, I can't hate on any of that. All right. Now, Arizona football time right here. Arizona got a commitment from a kid who is going to be much better and is going to be much higher ranked than he probably should be at this point. And he comes from a school that Arizona has had a hard time getting into right there. And that is something that's going to be very interesting. Toby Mealer, though, from Chandler Hamilton, for the longest time under Dick Tomey, under Mike Stoops, they could never get into Chandler or Hamilton. Those two schools have produced 18 NFL players in the last 14 years. They're good. So far, Jedd Fisch is doing well. This kid also is a monster. I think when 24/7 reevaluates him, he will be a 4-star.
Mike, this guy's a 6'5", 340-pound, 16-year-old.
Correct.
And he's got a frame to put on more weight and get bigger. We evaluate football 2025 slower, differently. I mean, the kid is going to go up in the rankings. He is a mauler. It's almost uncomfortable saying that you don't worry about in-state recruiting with Jedd Fisch. He just gets it. He's really good at it. They have a chance for that 2025 in-state class we were talking about the other day to be really good. They're going to land dudes in state, and they prioritize it. And I know that there's guys. I would go as far as to say that Arizona is willing to take 1 or 2 in-state guys that they're maybe not that confident in, just because it pays dividends down the road by taking those in-state guys.
And there's a couple kids in Tucson in that class. You got Desmond Roebuck up at Marana, who they've already offered. You've also got David Hinton's kid up at Chaparral, who's going to be who's going to be a 4-star kid as well. And you've got Tyler Powell's brother, who is considered one of the 2 or 3 best players in the class as well. We like Tyler Powell on this show. As a matter of fact, I think Tyler Powell hits the field not this season, but next season. So there's some pretty good connections there.
Yeah, Tyler Powell's one of those guys I've been told by the coaches, and you see it in practice. It may not happen this year, but if he's patient and remains on this roster, which he should, he's going to have a major role as a junior. It just so happens Arizona has Tanner and Kean Burnett. But, yeah, I mean, they're on pace to have a very nice class in 2025 in-state. There's a lot of talent there. And, again, Arizona knows what they're doing when they recruit in-state products.
All right, Elijah Rushing update from TJ Van Martyr. I believe that Arizona will be in it with Elijah Rushing till the very end right there. He's a very good player. I do believe that Keona Wilhite will end up being the better player, but that's also because of how high I am on Keona Wilhite, not disparaging Elijah Rushing. But Arizona's going to be right in it for Elijah Rushing to the end because Jedd Fisch gets in-state recruiting and he gets the importance of Sal Point.
Yeah, I'll take both of those, and then we'll figure out who's better once they come to Arizona. Right. It's just one of those situations. We can debate them when they're both on an Arizona roster. You take both, no hesitation. And I believe Arizona will be right there for both in the end.
Yes, exactly. I have Andrew. I have no updates on the west side, but we're going to have Dave Hickey, the phenomenal AD of Arizona, on next week. Dave Hickey, and I will ask him about that. You have my absolute word on that one. Now, in the one thing about it that I do find interesting, though, at that guard position right now, because we talked about this before. Defensively, I have no clue what to ask, and I will. I got you, Andrew. Don't worry, I got you. What I do worry about that guard position, and I do worry about a little bit of depth because I'm fine everywhere else. I'm fine at the quarterback, fine at the running back, fine at the receiver, tight end, and at the 4 positions I feel very good at. At that guard spot is still where I'm a little bit concerned here.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, I was talking to someone for 24/7. We've got an interview thing coming out in a week or so, and he asked me my biggest concern. I said the depth at guard. That really is because, and you could say this, to be fair, you could say the offensive line depth is the number one concern on just about every team in the country.
Right.
Because you're not getting a lot of guys that are willing to be a backup offensive lineman. But, you know, if Wendell Moe goes down, they're in trouble. And the thing is, when you look at the transfer portal, there's not a lot of linemen. There wasn't a big lineman push after spring football. Other positions there were a lot of, but linemen, offensive linemen, there's not. And if there are, they're getting major NIL deals because the big guys are going to go after them. But it does feel like Arizona's one injury away. But again, Arizona must be confident in guard because it moved Jonas Savanea from guard to tackle. So in order to make that move, there has to be some confidence there.
Are they confident in guard, or do they believe that it's easier to get a guard than to get a tackle right there? Because that tackle, and I'll argue with Lamont on this, Lamont believes it could be, a guy like a Borjan. I don't quite see that yet, but Lamont's much smarter than me. I think they moved Savanea to the outside for a reason.
Well, ideally, you have a guy like a Borjan step up, a guy like a Jacob Reese, Leif Magnuson, a guy like that takes
our guy Leif Magnuson.
And a guy like that takes the next step, and all of a sudden you're a lot more comfortable at JT Hand. One of those guys. You want to see one of those guys take the next step. And Arizona's offensive line looked fine during the spring, but it's hard to evaluate during the spring. Obviously I do think they're relatively confident, but there's still a lot of time left. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they go and they try to land a lineman from the portal.
TLN.
A lot of it also is up to Raymond Polito.
But that's difficult. That's going to be difficult, though, because it feels weird saying you're a late enrollee when you're actually on time. If he was here this spring, I'd feel much better about that possibility, sure.
Yeah, but Polito's one of them. Elijah is one of them. Elijah Payton. They have multiple linemen coming in. It's just really hard because they weren't there early, but maybe they think they'll adjust quickly.
All right. Now, TLN says, breaking, Philly B will play guard for Arizona football and basketball.
Wouldn't surprise me.
You get a little bit of height in there as well.
Wouldn't surprise me.
I do now. You might say, now, Philly B, the one thing that we can say about Philly B is that when you watch on his Instagram posts, Philly B dresses to impress. I mean, Philly B.
Loving life in Tucson.
He's loving life, and the ladies are loving Philly B right there. And a big reason why is because of the way he dresses. Now, you might say, how can I look like Philly B? Great question. I have the answer. Shady Rays. Take on summer with the best around, 50% off when you buy 2 or more pairs of Shady Rays. This is exclusively for our listeners. Shady Rays is giving out the best deals of the season. Go to shadyrays.com and use code word PHNX for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the Shaded Rays. 5 stars by 250,000 people. Jeff Bowe, who is currently ignoring me and who is leaving me on unread the U of A SID. I have talked to him about this. We will make this one happen, though. Shady Rays, check it out. All right. Prediction time, though, before we sign off right here. Arizona football, I believe, will finish 3rd in the Pac-12 South. Do you go over or do you go under?
There is no Pac-12 South.
All right, but you know what I'm saying, though. I know there's no Pac-12 South, but out of the traditional 6 teams right there, it's what I'm going with.
I don't think they're going to be better than 3rd.
But you don't think they're going to be worse than 3rd?
I think 3rd sounds about right. I will say this. I know on BetMGM, I believe Arizona's win total is down to 5. That feels low.
That does feel low. And Sheer, that is a great plug right there. BetMGM, Jacob Franklin has already hit the over on that, and he's going to continue to hit the over on that one.
You told me he hit the under on ASU, too.
And Jacob Franklin will also hit the under. What is the under on ASU? Do you know? Or the over under?
Last I checked, it was, I think Arizona went down, but it was 5.5 Arizona and 5 ASU. Basically, Vegas thinks they're the same team.
Trenton Bourguet better start for ASU.
I think there's a good chance. You never know.
Yeah, that's what. All right, now we're gonna put the hammer to the anvil, or is that the term?
Bread in the oven.
Anvil to the fire. Whatever the case may be. Arizona, where do they finish? Again, they're going to be additions. Does Arizona finish above USC next season in basketball?
Oh, you can't ask me that now.
I can ask you that right now. You can change.
Right now, I would say no.
Okay. All right. What about Oregon?
That's tough for me. Right now, you're asking me, like, Oregon's roster's done.
Yeah, but
you're
that's what I'm saying.
Wildcat Authority member right now.
What's that?
You're like, your lineup right now is Philly B at the 4. You got to just let me play it. Let's play it out. Let's just
love Philly B. Let him cook.
Let's just play it out.
All right.
Dylan
fair
Anderson,
enough.
You got a front court of Dylan and Umar. Let's just let it play it out.
By the way, you tried your best to run off Dylan, and Dylan said, not a chance. I'm staying here, and I'm back in the A.
That might have been the biggest news. There were 2 decisions. Number 1, Dylan didn't enter the portal. And number 2, he put a poll on Instagram. Should he bring back the mullet?
Okay, that's a very good point. Now, before we sign off right here, last opportunity to mess with Keshad Johnson right here. What about Oregon State athletics is so unappealing besides everything?
Yeah, everything. I don't understand the question. What?
All right, fair enough.
Here's the question that should be asked. What is appealing about Oregon State athletics?
That's a great point. Connor, how come the Big 12 does not want Oregon State athletics? I'm
just going to say this. Have you ever in your life heard someone say, you know what? I think I'm going to move to Corvallis.
Have you ever come across – I've got a better question. Whether in football or basketball, have you ever come across an Oregon State fan?
No, not unless they're playing. I have not.
I haven't either. I've come across Washington State fans before.
Yes, absolutely. Now that I think about it, I think the only fan in the Pac-12 that I haven't just met randomly would be Oregon State.
They don't exist.
They don't exist.
They get overwhelmed by Cal fans.
Yeah.
And there are no Cal fans.
We love Oregon State. It's fine.
We do. Keshad Johnson, you're doing great work. And Jacob Franklin, thanks for getting rid of Nelly. I don't know why he was in here talking about Texas and all of that, but whatever. All right. Sheer, where can they find you?
WildcatAuthority.com, at Jason Sheer on Twitter, and at the Knicks Victory Parade later tonight.
All right. You can find me at Iron Mike Luke and PHNX_Wildcats. And you can find Jacob Franklin, the great Jacob Franklin, at Jacob_Franklin4. We will be back with you tomorrow. We got Lamont Lovett coming on, and we probably won't make fun of Oregon State, but who knows? Maybe we will. For Jason Shear, I'm Mike Luke. You've been listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast.